experience them turn to perfection, and then everything around them, and then give that away to whatever the thing is in your mind that informs you of wisdom. So for some of you who have a practice, that may be a Buddha, a deity, Jesus, your teacher, your mum, your lover, any of those beings that are really teachers for you. Get them really clear in your mind and give them a perfect universe. Ask for their blessings. And then in the second prayer, just think of how is it that things that don't have a nature of their own can turn to bliss. Yeah? And just say everything, sounds, thoughts, sights, everything in your field of experience. And that's all. Here we go. Rukia Jishin Netotram Rira Vinshin Nyampadi Sangha Shindu Midewargi Dragunam Dakshin Vajipasho Idam Guru Ragnamandalakam Ninyatayami Shridam Zogi Shagnamna Janchu Vardu Dakni Vyapsuchi Daki Jinyen Gipesanamki Drola Vanshir Sangye Drupasho Chiram Zopi Shagnama Janchu Vardu Dakni Vyapsuchi Daki Jinyen Gipesanamki Drola Vanshir Sangye Drupasho Chudam Zoki Shognama Janchu Vardu Dakni Vyapsuchi Daki Jinyen Gipesanamki Drola Vanshir Sangye Drupasho. So take a comfortably seated position, make sure your phones are off. We're just going to do a very short meditation, so we only have a very short time to meditate. See if you can make it as relaxed, meaning no stories about what's the right way to meditate, am I doing it right, what's this thought, none of that. Just relaxed around you being in this room and observing your mind, and then narrowly focusing that mind initially just on the breath. So be sure your seat is comfortable, your back is straight. Park your body as if you're not going to move it for the next 7 to 10 minutes. Scan your body with your mind for any tension, and just with your awareness, release that tension. Particularly around the shoulders and the neck. You're not slumped forward, you're not leaning back. All those tiny muscles on your face relaxed. a hint of a smile on either side of your lips. And just feel free to take a gentle but deliberate in-breath, and then catching any negativity or blockages and just let it all out on the out-breath, imagining it filling Mara or the beings below the earth that eat all the yucky stuff in life. They are fulfilled and they don't need to bother you. The more yucky stuff you fill their gut with. So just take another in-breath. Maybe this time imagine diamonds going in, catching any ignorance in there, any dark spots, and on the exhale just feel Mara's mouth, a monster under the earth somewhere, however you picture it. All negativity is consumed. Just one last time. And then just bring your awareness to the sensation of your breath on your entire body. So any movement of the abdomen, the chest, wherever your mind takes you, sensing the breath entering and exiting your body, just do a few rounds of that until you've scanned every part of your body that is moved by breath. Begin to narrow your focus so you are sensing the sensation of the air entering and exiting your nostrils. Either feel the tip of your nose, any temperature difference between the air entering and exiting, or at the back, top of the nose. Just bring your awareness there and just ride the breath. If your mind wanders from the breath, just bring it back to the breath. See if you can get a little tighter now and really focus on the very tip of the nostrils. Just put your awareness there at the gate where the air comes out of your body and into your body. As sharp as possible, press tightly against the breath now. And your job is just to be there. Observe that. Nothing else, just that. A few rounds of that. Your attention on the tip of your nose and just aware of the air entering and exiting your body. Don't force it, just observe it. And see, with every out-breath, you are unveiling a different reality around you. So it's as if every inhale removes the veil from the experience of the world you have around you, and every exhale colors that unveiling with something magnificent. See if you can create around you a mental picture of a perfect place where you would be meditating. It could be on top of a mountain, in a field, in a cave, anywhere. Begin to uncover the world around you with your breath, transforming it, if you will. And once you get the obvious things done, so where you're sitting and what the horizon looks like, or the sky, see if you can add detail, and then more detail on that detail, like temperature and shadows and the rest. Just have some fun with your mind doing that. Then with your next few inhales and exhales, see if you can reveal seated in front of you the most perfect being you can imagine. I mean, completely beautiful, almost magical, completely all-knowing, compassionate, the most perfect being you can imagine, most evolved being. Whatever shape and form they take. And see if with each breath you can begin to understand them deeper and deeper. Just there for you. Get some detail on their face with a feeling of what's in their heart and mind for you. Nothing but goodness. Just with your mind, ask them to teach you and stay close. And as you do, imagine the whole world around you and them shrinking and becoming just a dot at your heart, entering your heart. You're ready, just sense your body here. And see if you can maintain a sense of that other world still existing here with you in this room. do quiz class 1 already? Who was here last class? Let's have your hands up. Did you do your quizzes for class 1? No? Steve, you didn't print any class 1 quizzes, did you?
They're in there.
This is class 2 quizzes.
Oh, is it?
Around this class.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I
Can you
totally.
print something? Yeah.
Well, who doesn't have a quiz class 1?
Yeah, so we've got a bunch of them going. I'd like you all to discuss class 1 just in 15 minutes through the quiz, yeah? So for those of you who do have quiz here, quick up your hand. You don't? Cool. So Steve, can you maybe bring up 20 or something?
Nobody brought their quiz in last week?
No one put up their hand.
I from
You did? So put up your hand if you have it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you are leading groups, yeah? So get together with the people that have their hands up. Please put up your hands. Yeah, and you'll all gravitate towards one of those people, the one you like the least. That'll send them to conflict. And just go through the questions. Don't cheat the answer. Try and remember it. Have a discussion, and then cheat. Yeah. Yeah. And we'll be back together at 8:15, having answered all the quiz. If you've never been to this class before, this is why we're doing it, for you. So enjoy the discussion. Yeah? Talk to you in 15. And don't be shy about it. Hang out with each other.
Were you here? Will you help us? Yeah. We'll come over there. You want to come over here?
One of you or all of you go over.
Huh?
Can one of you or all of you help Sarah in that group? Because they're all fairly new. Yeah. Can you go find someone else? Oh, you were here?
I wasn't here, but
Go with them then. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, whoever's light or new.
And then we'll try to come up with
in that they have a teacher from their I just remember that there was called the and then itself will also
Me and mine. But it's right
they're mutually exclusive. You can't have instruction while also having
view destruction, and then explain the role that blood
Explain how it is that you allow
Well, we can still learn. We still have those things. So you're living here.
Right, but that's what you're addressing the first part of the question, which is how the state is not allowed to treat us. So we're able to see how better stuff out.
Right. So it's saying,
It's not.
you have revenue, now you have a path.
What happens is divided into the
Yeah.
View destruction and realizing
Unless you're
Just read the first one.
Yeah, there's this-
Unless you're open and direct perception.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, are they actually different kinds?
After direct perception is emptiness, and then you come out of it. Have you seen right now? How do you do that throughout the day?
The story goes through.
I think what you're saying is possibly
Why don't you, instead of making it personal, really, explain the role? That's all
So,
you
are they two different kind of truth things?
How would she make it?
It's not the truth, it's not.
That's all the question.
So it is kind of truth.
What role does that take?
Right now.
because if you're direct perception of emptiness and direct view destruction just adds.
Don't add on to what I guess there are all kinds of different layers here, but most of them.
Realizing emptiness and actually logic.
What it's doing is it's removing the basis for it. It's only a blanket.
So make sure for the quizzes that you receive that you put your name at the top and you do the writing, because there's something happens in your brain when you do that. Yeah? So everyone please have a quiz finished.
One more?
Last part.
Yeah, I can get one.
No, explain how eliminating allowed this to
It's right there.
That's what I understand.
Oh, thank you.
And then the other layer of that is that then you accept it's the story.
Yes, self-identifying with the self and the 5 keys.
What do you feel like the truth is
Okay, that's what else?
Well, it's all, what else? I mean, you start to understand how to purify your conscience, but like by definition, you're suffering. Nirvana is just a station of all suffering.
Right, we're talking about direction, right? We're not there yet.
From their own side, and you identify with them, you eliminate the weeds, you understand emptiness, so things can
understand it's presumably you're creating new common inheritance is required to achieve the process.
Well, nirvana is not just being
To achieve it, you have to pay. Create the narrative. So bringing the influences to we have, let's say, yes, so in other words, it's a process. You're going to say that about planting seeds, you can plant seeds for future time of material. Yeah, does that make sense?
In addition, we gain insight into how to purify the remaining negative This one I might not.
Number 2?
Yeah, like I thought that the two truths were referring to substantive and ultimate, or like relative and ultimate.
Well, the deceptive truth is
What we talked about in the class last week was deceptive and ultimate. That's what that was some of the words that we were talking about. And then I did I came up with also
So how would you define your experience in your own
I would say positive.
I know, but you're describing the truth thing about
what's ultimate truth? What's absolute truth? Okay, so all of this stuff is just a label. If emptiness is absolute truth, what's deceptive? That's what I had.
Why is it called truth? Why is it called truth?
Because it functions as a truth.
For an ignorant mind, it appears true. For a mind that's colored with ignorance, it appears as true.
I give him 5 minutes.
Oh, cool. It was so nice to see you, man.
You still have the Argentinian?
They left today. You know, this Guru Maharaj's birthday yesterday,
So I have those
or the day before.
It's the 24th,
What's today?
25th.
That was yesterday.
How'd you know?
Laura told me.
Who?
Laura.
Really?
I'm gonna go with
That's awesome.
What object is divine? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
It's a trick-ish. Not really, it's just a device. So when you can hear it, you have to...
He answered everything.
A lot of these questions come out.
everything.
I don't know if we watch it.
Depending where you're coming from.
All existence.
And also through the reading.
Yes.
I just read it like a couple hours ago.
I mean, from the point of view of the Buddha, relative truth is still relative truth.
But it's not experienced through jigta.
I think it's still recognizing what it is.
I don't know if
But it's looked at through different lens because it has a...
I know that it gets us saying from here.
Yeah.
They are saying, no, it's still.
Yeah. I'm not able to...
This isn't saying that
No,
they
going
see
back
it as
to-
true, they're saying that it's recognizable.
But I want to say, from the point of view of ignorance,
do you have it?
from the point of view of Buddha, that's the
Right, but it's not a truth, it doesn't
I don't necessarily
So you're saying it would...
I personally perfectly I don't disagree. And I mean that specifically.
Okay, well, I'm trying to...
That's it. That's what I said.
That's your argument? That's it?
Well, I don't need to argue.
You guys should do a debate class. I would love. Like, I would love to be able to debate these things. We don't have time in this class to do that, but I'd love that we can. That they could have a view and we want to iron it out. I would love if we took another class and just did that for all this
We
content.
had the advantage of this, or I had the advantage of having brought it up. He's the Buddha to disagree with what I'm saying, well, that's good. But logically, it's just plain.
Long discussion. We'll have to call.
Give a special quality of ultimate truth as described by them.
I don't know if I got this. I don't know that.
Okay, wrap up the last question. We've got a minute left. Please.
Spiritual quality of ultimate truth.
I put that it allows you to finish off all of your because he does a lot of comparison between
It means you would not know, I don't think it's, at least it's a package.
Do you remember Jenny's explanation of that? He gave it a definition. That's the question is what do you call it? The special quality.
Get a special quality.
A special quality. And I'm fishing for a specific answer.
it's not in this reading.
It was a definition of the real subject.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Yes, remember? Once experienced directly, it functions to clear off all your impurities or something.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm not sure that you got that.
I think so.
once you realize it, yeah, it allows you to put yourself on all your curious
It's that. It's saying all the things that are producing samsara, which is all your mental affliction, ignorance. No, it functions, meaning it works to. Once you see it directly, it begins a change. Can we get started? Javier, everybody sitting down.
You guys got like 1 more minute.
Wrap it up. I would like one. Can you put that behind the desk for Lydia?
No, it's just, he says just every impurity.
Yeah, that's what it says. Every impurity.
What does it mean?
We're not applying it the same way.
So where's the neat division between skinny on and round on is a little tricky in real life? Okay, all I'm saying is that this quality allows you to become omniscient.
Yes.
As opposed to
Well, actually, it doesn't. No, it says all your impurities. If you're in the Hinayana track, that just means you reach Nirvana. If you're in the Mahayana track, you can then develop omniscience.
So I'm saying this is that which can lead to omniscience.
It can lead to just the direct perception of
I'm
impurities.
taking the distinction from continue with it.
Right. It's in the Bodhisattva Avatar, so we're talking obviously Mahayana. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, last call. If you have completed your quiz, which I really am grateful that you played, okay, thank you. I know it's a little weird, isn't it? But it's actually very nice to go through the last class so we can move forward. I'm going to ask a slightly different question now. For all of you who had just reviewed last class, and for those of you who weren't here at last class and got to review last class, what's the first question?
Describe what the view of destruction is.
So, describe jikta, right? The view of destruction. I would like one person who thinks that's an awesome question and loved answering it to tell me about it. Because I think you can get off on really good dharma, right? Now, I don't want to be shy about it today. I'm like, the fact that there's a thing called view of destruction, I think is pretty sexy. Like, in ancient Buddhist philosophy, a view of destruction. So someone want to tell me briefly what it is, just briefly, just vomit it out. You just reviewed it, so you know.
Is this like at the Nalanda bar down the street when you're coming in with your heavy vibes?
Yeah, like that. So, who liked that question? Who thought that was like, oh, I liked that. I did too. Thank you. Now, let's not be shy about it.
It was a mouthful.
So, what's jikta? What's the view of destruction?
You're seeing things that are temporary in the process of being destroyed, and you sort of grasp them as if that's not what's going on.
That's nice.
As if they're not coming from. I'll just leave it there.
That's nice. Yeah, and that you're not participant in it. That somehow they're separate from you. You've got nothing to do with them, and they are causing all of your reality. That's jikta, and it's called the view of destruction for 2 reasons. See who can tell me the 2 reasons. One
One reason is because it will always destruct, it will like always break down.
just sort of not right. Javier.
That the view can be destroyed itself.
So that's an awesome answer, right? That this view that we hold things out there, it's a shitty view and it will be destroyed. Yeah? By what? Emptiness. And being in communion with wisdom, with the ultimate nature of existence, with this big word called emptiness. What's the second reason the view of destruction is jikta is called the view of destruction? Because what it focuses on is all destroyable stuff. We think it's permanent. Yeah, I found the relationship. If you really think that, bye-bye. You know, I found the teachings out there. They are working for me. Bye-bye. I found myself. I went to the desert and I found myself. Where were you? Bye-bye. If you're holding on to some self-existent nature to any of that stuff, it will be destroyed. Like it's stuff that was caused, dependently arising, must go through its transition. So it pitches you and it forces you to have a different view. And it implies, it's a Mainga, it implies that there's another view. Yeah. And that is the whole chapter, chapter 9. It's the view of one of the two truths. Ultimate reality. That there is another reality. It's not that way. It's not. This view of destruction is just a mistake. And yet we live in that mistake all the time. We're driven by it. You all believe it. I believe it. Or you're over there listening to me talking. I'm talking. Yeah? But we think it's like that. It's not like that. And because we think it's like that, we keep having this system break down, go up and down, up and down, up and down, and we don't know why. It's mistaken. So, there's another undercurrent alongside this same view. And it's called ultimate truth. So that jikta is what kind of truth? Deceptive truth, yeah? People use relative, but I guess you might call it one to point to the set. It's a weird thing to think it's relative. If anything is relative, you said something else. So he prefers the idea of deceptive. Why deceptive? It deceives you. We really think that if I work hard, I'm going to make money, and if I make money, I'm going to be happy. And you know what? Maybe you will.
Study shows 75K.
So 75K, you'll be happy. Yeah. Yeah, and of course, everybody above 75K is happy.
Happier than not.
They're not under 75K. Yeah, but everybody, without exception, you give them a 75K and they'll be joyful that next moment. You know, if they were on 200K and they get to 70K, they might not be so happy. So we focus on a different thing. You know, it doesn't mean that things don't function. This is the thing we're talking about emptiness. It's like a greased pig. You know, you think you've got it, and then you apply it to something, and it goes, I think I had it, and it goes, yeah.
I was thinking about the term relative today.
Yeah, as opposed to deceptive.
Well, deceptive is good too, but I just was thinking about using that word to describe what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I like it because it's relative to you.
Yeah,
and
I like
I feel
it
like
for that
as
reason
you
too.
get, like, as you stop identifying with your ego, like ultimate truth, it's kind of like the tree falling in the forest type of thing. Like the ultimate truth is going to be there, whether or not you perceive yourself as yourself. So like when you, right? Because we're trying to like not identify with our ego. So once that's lost, what's it relative to?
Okay, I can get what you're saying.
Does that
relative.
make sense?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
sorry,
didn't
that
understand
might
the
be
thing
too
of the forest, but that's fine.
I think this metaphor is relative to you.
Okay, sorry guys.
Yeah. Steven's applying his
See you.
wisdom by saying this metaphor is relative to Rachel. So no, but I get the relative to. You could say that about this 5 or 6 realms in the wheel of life. Each reality is relative to the set of creatures that have that karma forced upon them to perceive a human existence, a human perspective. For humans, this is flower. For bees, this is not flower. This is some kind of food or landing object. And for elephant, it's something else. You know, like helipad. So anyway, I don't want to get too diverted. I just want to start off. What was the last question on the quiz about? With the reality. Huh?
What is the special quality of ultimate truth?
Oh, okay. So what is the special quality of ultimate truth? Because on that, I want to kick off this next class. It was something he said.
It's unchanging?
No, that's not what
Well,
we're
you
fishing
said
for. That's
it-
not what I said last time.
That it has the quality that if you perceive it, it can allow you
It can function to.
It functions to allow you to destroy the impurities in your mind. Something like that, man.
Something like that. Yeah. What's the essence of what
that?
What's the essence of what Gyaltsub Jay said? Thank you for trying.
That you destroy the impurities that block you from reaching enlightenment.
That's right. I'll buy that. Yeah, that's what the impurities mean. So it functions once you make contact with this realm, right? So there's this thing out of the whole pantheon of mental experiences that beings can have. Yeah, if you lay them all out in an infinite universe and they're all dots, yeah, there is one of them, one corner of perception, not the perception of me as me, or as the dog as a dog, or as a cookie as yummy, or whatever it is. Out of all the perceptions that can go through the mind of a being, let's call that that, if you imagine them all laid out in an infinite universe, there are some of them that are completely life-changing, so you can group them. And then within those, there are some that are really strongly life-changing. You just have one of those, like a near-death experience, and it will alter your behavior for the rest of your life or something. But then in that corner of the universe, there is just one, that if you make contact with it for what they say is 15 to 20 minutes in the scriptures, you can never see and experience the universe the way you used to. And it begins to function for you to realize the universe in a completely different way, to wake you up. You can never again believe the illusion that you're living in to be other than an illusion. You realize that every other one of those dots you were holding on in a way that was not congruent with reality. And that's why you have, once you realize that, this is called the direct perception of emptiness, or direct contact with ultimate reality, that once you have that, then you're looking at the whole pantheon of experiences of a human consciousness or a being's consciousness, and you have at the end of that experience these 16 or so realizations that can be condensed into the 4 Arial truths or the 4 Noble Truths, the first thing the Buddha taught. And essentially you realize that all those dots are just suffering if I continue them that way. Like you have this awareness because of that thing that allows you to clean off all your impurities, right? You say, oh my God, look at all my boo-boos. They're all laid out. I did that in a way that's going to cause it to end and cause me pain. Or I ran away from that in a way that will cause me to re-engage with that reality in a way that, first of all, you have the realization of suffering. Like, oh my God, this is all just suffering. That's all I've been doing. Dot, 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 dot. And then you realize no magical Wizard of Oz was doing it for you. It was just you. But it was the way Jigta, it was your view. Oh my God, I did that. You'd be like, wow, that's a lot. And then, because you saw how things function, you go, but it doesn't have to be that way. Actually, I now know how to see these things for what they are. And then you begin the process, the path, to just turn them on because they have ultimate reality, because they are empty of having any nature of their own. They don't exist that way, the way you thought they were, coming from that towards you, and therefore you're stuck to deal with them the way they are. That's how it appears, that's Jigta. Because you saw for real that that's not how they are, that you were the architect of your reality. You all of a sudden have ECAT? What's? AutoCAD. You have the architect's software for AutoCAD for redesigning every corner of your universe. AutoCAD, ECAT, so whatever. You have some cat, like a shirt.
So is it basically that you're changing a belief system?
It's you could call it that, but it's a belief system that's congruent with what actually is. So we've all had a nominal experience like that, So I can tell you a very simple experience that I've had someone told me that this girl that was my boss was just a dumb blonde, okay? And she was blonde. So she must be a dumb blonde in my head. So I'm working for this girl. So my belief system was put together the pieces of information people gave me, all the cultural programming around blondes, and then my boss is a dumb blonde. So I'm dealing with her in a way that perceives her and acts towards her that way. Something's weird about our relationship. Well, I don't know why it's not working. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. But she wasn't dumb. And after a while I realized she wasn't blonde. She actually had brown hair and she colored it. But that's another story. That wasn't the point. It was Tanya. She was a little blonde, okay? But she wasn't dumb at all. And the first time she showed me how intelligent she was and so capable, she was just through interaction. I thought I'd outsmart her because I'm a show-off or something. And then she came back with something that was super sharp, but I didn't catch it. I couldn't relate to that reality that she was. I just couldn't do it. My belief system, the way I was treating her, wasn't allowing that reality to come in. And I had to be bashed in the head a few times until she said something that I valued, and I had a different trigger base for that, and I thought, my God, this girl's brilliant. All of a sudden, shift in perception, relationship changed, and my reality changed.
So, but I think that, like, I'm not sure if it's okay calling it a belief system, because there's something about the direct perception of emptiness that apparently is experiential. There's an embodiment, that it's not just about a belief, it's actually about an experience.
But after that experience, what happens?
I'm not sure, never been there.
So let me go through this, okay? So,
It's like the only thing you do believe, right?
yeah, is it?
Because you're back in the mud.
Yeah, cool. Let me go through it, okay? Because I want to do what Lama John did. A couple of announcements. Sorry, bear with me. First of all, who was here for Lama John Brady's talk? Yeah, on the 4 empty spaces. Who thought that was like stunning? Yeah? Who thought it was terrible?
Yeah, I was in there.
Cool. He said to me, we saw him today, he said to me how nice it was to be here and how much he really enjoyed being here. And we've asked him if he could come and teach again something extra sexy, and he sort of agreed. Yeah? So it's like it's a yogic perspective. It's a yogic teaser for the tantric courses. Yeah? So it's our secret teachings through an open door, if you like. So he agreed, and we don't know when. So I just want you to know it's really exciting to have him teach here. So thank you for that. The other thing I wanted to say before I go into the class, and this part of the class in particular, a bunch of people have been doing amazing things, and I want to bring that joy to the room before we go on to class. So Jenna yesterday, and Jacqueline, and a bunch of you, Missy and the rest, did a benefit for 108 Lives. Who else was there? Hannibal was there, right? Lulu was there. Ustream, yeah, thank you. People have been messaging me how nice it is that it's not just me playing 108 Lives, but there are other people doing stuff, and they're noticing that we have a nice group and community, and I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. Yeah. So acknowledgement to you guys, really grateful for that. The same for Emily for coming up with an awesome idea to help more people go to 108 and then 2 trips to Nepal. So very nice, and I won't talk too much about that. The other thing I wanted to say is, Javier, you're stepping up so much, and you're teaching here, and you're committed, and it's bloody awesome, and you're bringing a level that's really needed, and very grateful for that. Keep doing that. What I'm talking about specifically is many people teach here, but not many people go above and beyond and above and beyond. So he did all his marketing material, everything. He didn't just say, I'm teaching there, bring me students. He's like doing everything, yeah? And then did way above and beyond. Really nice to see, because we see a lot of things happening here, right? Marked difference and beautiful. Please keep doing it, yeah? And then lastly, I want to say for you all to look at Stephen, just look at him. This 26-year-old person has been pretty much solo running this space without, I mean, I help and make noise, but he does the doing, right? And it was thanks to him and Lilia, and of course a bunch of your help, that Go Yoga is up and running, that the new desk is up and running, that the room got painted, that this looks the way it looks, that you're all punching in a system called Mind Body, and we can track your movements on the internet via GPS, and that the finances get paid for this space, and the rest. Yeah, and I don't thank him enough, and if I do, he stops listening to me, so you need to say thank you to Stephen. Yeah, because did I forget anyone? That's awesome. Angela, everyone thank Angela because she's a strange cookie. She's a chef, by the way. We should hit her up for food. Okay. So thank you. You made Lama John really happy if you came, and you're making the 3 jewels really special. And with that joy, if you're feeling it, now let's study emptiness, okay? Because that's what it's for. The main point, the first couple of years of studying Buddhism, I thought I was going to get self-existently relaxed if I did enough meditation, self-existently wise if I sat in front of robed people that said words, yeah? And I wasn't taking any responsibility really for my own waking up, my own enlightenment. So Lama John mentioned it a little bit yesterday. It's what Geshe Michael taught in Hamburg, but I want to review it because in this class 20 years ago, Geshe Michael just gave an outline of what I believe was his experience of seeing emptiness directly and all the prerequisites that you need to be doing in order to make contact with that one part of your mind that can color the rest of your mind. And then we can talk about what it is to be in the direct experience of emptiness. So the first thing the first thing that you realize after studying enough of this for a while is that you're an architect of your own experience of this method, this path to wake up. That there are many other ways for you to practice all sorts of things. Some crazy, some profound, some amazing, some complete, some not complete. But then after a while, when you logically understand that this could be a complete path if you activate it, then you get earnest about putting into practice the essentials that is in this path that was perfectly preserved in Tibet for 1,000 years. That's why all this is special. There's no other reason for it. It's to get you out of jikta and to get enlightenment. For you, as a real thing, in New York, no other place. In your life now, not later. It's possible. Yeah? You can get that conviction if you just get to taste some realizations and connect with enough of the wisdom. Secondly, after a while, you get to see what we're going to cover in this class, that the Tibetans, or the information that we're sharing here, really sees the entire world of sentient beings divided into 2 types of beings, right? And one's called Pakpa, or in Tibetan, or Arya in Sanskrit, and the other one's called Soso Kewo, which is so right? So a being, and the only definition, and I'll cover that in a second in more detail, the only difference between these 2 sets of beings is they are only divided by whether or not they make contact with ultimate reality or not. They behave differently, they understand the universe differently, they're either in accord with reality or they're out of accord with reality. They are congruent and can function and make things work, or they work in a cycle of perpetual ups and downs. The first landing spot, once you get this idea, is then you realize you need to get the conditions ready to have that direct experience with ultimate reality. That your career as a spiritual practitioner, as a sentient on the planet, when you have a little bit of leisure in your life, meaning you have a job and you have a life and you have a healthy body and you wonder whether or not you're going to go on Instagram or go to the movie, or not that Instagram's not a movie. You say, what do you do with all the time? You can go to the beach X number of times, you could go to X number of movies, and after a while, you go, oh, I'll go to that restaurant or this restaurant, and after a while, you have a relationship, and have another relationship, go to dinner, and after a while, you realize that some things, there's a pattern in your relationship to this world. I'll change the dinner, I'll change the boyfriend, I'll change the movie, I'll change something. If you've got enough leisure and fortune, begins to stir a kind of awareness of your dissatisfaction with things as they are, that you might not get if you're busy working to survive and feed your family, or you might not get that spatial time in your mind to be aware of that. So you're all pretty lucky. You're sitting around in a room in New York City on a Thursday night. You're not forced to have to work tonight to feed a family or to run away from bombs or anything like that. So you realize that there is some conditions to be placed in your own life in order for you to make contact with whatever or however close you can get to that moment where then everything changes. Yeah. So when Geshe Michael taught this, he said that the very first thing that you should do is you should make contact or try and make contact or hang around a qualified teacher for you. Yeah. And at the same time, he said, it sounds sort of funny in the West to say that, because especially if it's coming from a spiritual teacher. He's like, oh, you should be nice to a spiritual teacher, being a spiritual teacher. He thought that was funny for the West. But then he says, when you realize that there are beings around you who are teaching you, meaning you learn from them because you get close to them, something in you shifts, pays attention, and it rings true and burns with truth for you, then your job begins to be get close to them and serve them. And he says, not with cookies and flowers, and they're all nice and beautiful, and your intentions will have a thing. He says, no, serve them with your life energy. They don't need your cookies or money or anything like that if they've had that realization. If you've met a being or beings that have come close or have touched that realization, stick to them like Velcro. Serve them. Why is that? If you've understood the karma course, why is that important? That's louder.
It's going to plant the seeds for seed.
If the world of destruction is not true, then the only way you're going to maintain the projection of a teacher or someone that can give you a path is by serving them. Yeah? And serving them does not mean become subservient to them, does not mean any of that. What would serving a spiritual teacher really look like? Imagine you knew all things in the world. Imagine you were the spiritual teacher. Imagine each one of you had already touched that thing and had already cleaned all of your impurities, and all of a sudden you, without any doubt at all, with complete certainty, had your heart filled with compassion and love all the time towards every single thing you looked at. Imagine you were like that. And then imagine that you knew the actions and reactions of every being. Yeah? And someone comes to you locked in their cycle of suffering. Someone comes to you unaware that they're stuck in a cycle, an emotional cycle, a physical cycle, whatever it is, right? They can't see, but they come to you and they get a little glimpse of there's something there. How would you think it would best be for them to serve you?
Your practice.
Yeah, but the only thing you want, if you already have everything, if you already know everything, is for that crawling, suffering, cycle, tripping, self-tripping being to stop tripping themselves. Yeah? So put into practice what I already know to be completely true. That would be serving a teacher. Now that, in your mind, plants immense karma if you really do believe that they are a spiritual teacher. And then your active effort to clean up your own bullshit and dedicating it to them, may you stay close to them. Just is like a powerhouse of energy that propels you towards that contact with that reality, because that's what you're dealing with. Yeah. First thing. The second thing he said was study emptiness. Study emptiness. Study emptiness. Study emptiness. Read up on emptiness. Think about emptiness. Get an intellectual stronghold on emptiness. Don't be afraid of getting it wrong. Don't be afraid of pushing yourself against this idea of emptiness. And all you're doing is you're self-brainwashing. If Jitta is true, if we have this view of destruction, that is what keeps us locked in these cycles that we don't like when we get reset. And I just don't mean a full life and rebirth. I'm talking about mini cycles as well. Like, oh, here I am again. I don't have that relationship, and now I'm searching for one. My heart got broken again. They always do that to me. Oh, I'm in the same situation with my job. They always do this to me. I'm always in this place. Again, I'm here. Again, I'm here. I had that fight again with that person. It was the same as the fight with the other person. Why is everybody like that? Again, I'm here. We're the only common denominator of those cycles, by the way. It's saddeningly comical. So when you infuse your mind with emptiness, what happens if all you're studying and reading and thinking about is the way things are ultimately existent? What do you think would happen if you begin to color your mind with that idea to the best of your capacity? Sorry? You habituate your mind to what? Who's ever wanted to buy a car that was a specific color, or an iPhone, or whatever it was, and then as soon as you had the idea, you start seeing that iPhone everywhere? Ah, me too, right? But we're sort of built like that. So imagine, all you do is you habituate over and over and over emptiness. Then I'm looking at this thing that I used to call flower, and all of a sudden, I'm not thinking only of flower. I'm thinking, how does emptiness come? Let's see emptiness of the shades within the flower. What's emptiness in relation to the petals? Does each petal have emptiness? Is the whole thing empty? If it's empty, but all you're doing is having some kind of in-depth understanding of the nature of this thing.
Is it that you're dissolving into it?
No, not at this point. We're talking just intellectual thinking about the emptiness of objects. Yeah, objects meaning not physical objects, just anything that the mind catches. Yeah? Then, what do you think the third thing Geshe Michael said? Serve a teacher, study emptiness.
Practice the six perfections.
No, but that's sort of implied in the emptiness. Like, come to teaching, study. Yeah, like get different opinions. But meditate. Meditate. Why meditate?
Because emptiness is realized in a deep state of meditation.
I heard both those things. One with my left ear, one with my right ear.
So did I.
Pay attention.
So yes. I know you did.
The only way you're going to experience emptiness is in meditation.
Exactly. So the direct perception, that contact with the thing, can only happen in a state of deep meditation with single-pointed focus, and we don't do that. We just don't do that. We're busy going like is like, call this, call that, like that. To get you steady, relaxed, calm down, without thinking about what's coming next or what went past, and just be present, is difficult for us. It's like really difficult. Yeah, and then like who in the first meditation, when they first learned meditation, was told to count to 10 on the breath? And if you started If your mind wandered to something else, to start again. Who was told that? Okay, cool. Who got to 10? The first time. You did?
First time I was
Awesome.
told that.
That's amazing. It is amazing, actually, and congratulations. I wish I could. I didn't. Yeah, for most of us, except for special beings. No. And why would that be the case? Why would some beings be able to go, I can meditate?
He's done it before.
Done it before, has habituation, has done, yeah, easy, no problem, in a bliss problem. But it's difficult to meditate, really meditate, not think I'm meditating. It can be at the beginning, but then even Shantideva goes, everything is possible with practice. You can practice to look at this world completely different. You can practice to conceive of yourself as completely different. To do that, you need some concentration. So the whole practice of meditation is essential. To get to have the direct experience of emptiness, to have a touch of that thing, you're not even in this realm. You're in the first level of the form realm, which is a completely different state of being. Yeah? Over there. So he said the third thing is meditate. For him, but I have not seen it in scripture, but I believe him. He says towards the end, once you build up enough energy through serving a Lama, studying these ideas, so all you're thinking about is emptiness and dependent arising, yeah, karma and emptiness. Meditating, getting really subtle in your conceptions, really seeing in slow motion how your mind could possibly be constructing this world of illusion and thinking it's true, and beginning to have a conviction about it. He says the final instruction you would get is about the idea of mental images and how mental images arise. Chetra. Yeah? And yeah, he's only ever taught that twice in the 20 years that I've studied with him. And the last time was in Hamburg this weekend. Yeah? Before that he taught it in California in 2000 and something. And it is a stunning, and it's not even from the Madhyamika school, it's from the second school, which is the school. Anyway, it's another school. So then you get some instruction on how mental images create you begin to attach these mental images onto things that are blank. When you get the instruction of that and you begin to understand that, you add to your toolkit of understanding how your mind is functioning, then you really have the whole engine going. And he says that prior to this peak moment, peak experience, you begin to have some realizations on the nature of impermanence, and then that you will have a direct experience of what's called dependent origination. Because you've been serving a Lama strongly, or teacher, or your teacher, devoting all your energy to understanding how the nature of reality is, meditating on a regular basis, and then you are not in meditation, you are pitched into a direct experience of dependent origination. And a way to think about that, the story he told from a very real personal perspective is you're making tea for your Lama or your teacher or whatever you're doing. I think that's what it was for him. And then you go to grab the teapot on the kettle on the stove, and you realize that you're not looking at a kettle, that you're not looking at a teapot. Yeah, that your eye catches data that is dark over there and got a curve over there, and that your hand has a sense on this finger and that finger, and that your mind is completely constructing a perfect kettle, but the sense data that you're receiving has nothing to do with kettle. It may suggest kettle, but that in your mind, your consciousness is imputing upon that a beautiful, perfect, functioning kettle. But it's not a kettle. It's not what really you're experiencing. That the shapes and colors for you might suggest that. And that upon that, certain things happen, and then you're pitched to go sit down, meditate, and you'll be going into a direct perception of emptiness. Coming out of a direct perception of emptiness, where it's called pouring water into water, and that's what that thing I think you were implying. You can't at that moment be saying it's a belief system or anything like that, but what happens immediately after, you have a sense of coming down, and you don't have a sense of who you were in that moment, or time passing, or anything relative, because you're not in relative reality, you're not in deceptive reality. You don't know it's you don't know it's a thing you're doing, you're not meditating, you're not in your body, you're not there, there's no you, there's no time, right? That's impossible in that moment, because you're in ultimate reality. But when that completes, you have a sense of descending, and he was very clear to say you're not descending from seeing emptiness and then you come down or something. It's actually descending from the form realm to this realm. So you get a sense of you're sort of in this body, and then you begin to notice citta, deceptive reality, begin to want the habit of it, beginning to want to come back. And the perceptions are still coming in a fake way, in the way that you thought they were. You still see all those dots as they were, the way you thought they were coming from there to you. The only difference that I could label belief system is that you no longer believe that to be true. You don't believe those things could ever come from out there, and that you were the architect of all those things. And that conviction then begins to be your career through what if you're a Mahayana, if you're in the Bodhisattva track, you are going through the 10 Bodhisattva levels. Yeah? So that's how we began this class all this time ago. A little bit of time ago. 3 cessations. Imagine after that experience, right? This is what's interesting. We talked about the 2 truths, deceptive and ultimate, right? After that experience, you made contact with both. You made contact with deceptive truth at the point of seeing the kettle dependently originating, meaning you labeling it kettle, forced upon you. You saw yourself doing it, but you also understand there's no kettle in the things I'm engaging with. Yeah? But hold on a minute. Is that really the first time you saw deceptive truth? Really? It's the first time that happened. So what did you see? Is it deceptive truth? Did you see deceptive truth?
Yes.
Were you seeing deceptive truth before?
Yes.
What's the difference?
You're seeing yourself see the deceptive truth.
You're seeing the deceptive part of it as deceptive for the first time ever in your existence. You're like, it's deceptive. Before that, you're like, it's a kettle. For the first time, you're like, it's the yelling boss. It's not the yelling boss. It never was. For the first time, you see how deceptive truth is deceptive. So in that career path that he just explained, you have a direct experience of deceptive truth as being deceptive, and then you've also had a direct experience of ultimate truth as being true.
But as far as this might be going too deep into it, and that's okay. But
we only have half an hour.
But what is the experience after? Like, is it that your sensations and perceptions change? Is it that you see the karmic seeds ripening onto an empty thing? Or is it that...
We're going to cover the whole course will go into detail in moments about that. But he just began the course because we're going to go into some aspects of those things tonight and tomorrow and the day after. Before we get into those kind of details, he gave a very elaborate and detailed and personal experience of that right throughout this course, and I'll try and share that the best I can, right? Maybe not tonight, yeah? You have 3 cessations at that point, 3 things that stop forever. Do you remember what they were? So after you come down, you have these realizations which can be gathered into the 4 Arial truths, 4 noble truths, which I described already. But then 3 things, 3 mental afflictions, 3 states of mind stop forever. Doubt is one of them, we know that, right? So it means you have direct contact with this ultimate reality. You've had direct contact with fake reality as fake. Nothing is going to convince you otherwise. Because one aspect of the pramana or valid perception about it is that you're not crazy and it was a truth. Yeah, so you have no doubt whatsoever. Imagine your lives with 0 doubt. Imagine anything in your life with 0 doubt. Imagine being sure about anything. We're not even sure that when we take aspirin the headache's going to go away. We're not even sure the next millisecond is going to happen the way we thought it would. Imagine all of us crawling on this planet. Imagine a minute of sure, a complete certainty. So one of the cessations is doubt. That vanishes forever. You know, and then there's all these follow-on realizations. The path is a complete path. You can see how it can deliver you to enlightenment, etc. What's the next one? Do you remember?
You no longer planting pure seeds.
I'll twist that a little bit, right? Because technically you do, but no, they won't ripen. Okay, because you don't have ignorance. I'm trying to do that and then you're leading me. So you no longer believe, you've stopped believing jikta. Yeah? In other words, the world will continue being like it is today, and that's a big letdown. Yeah? Except you know it's not true the way you thought it was. For the first time. No longer do you believe the lie, the illusion, the dream as being real.
So you can still plant negative seeds.
You still have the impulse. That's why you have up to 7 lifetimes. Big debate, not tonight. No, I love to think about it, keep it in your head, keep it growing, but it's a big debate, right? So after seeing emptiness directly, can you plant a negative karma? Can you tell somebody to piss off with anger if they bumped you? And if you do you plant negative karma?
Would you though?
If you wouldn't, you'd be in nirvana. And you're not in nirvana. You have to go through some boomies to get there, up to 7 lifetimes. Not for tonight. Yeah, no, but think about it. Keep it in your head, because I want you to have that thought. You want to have that understanding. Yeah? But you've just destroyed ignorance. But you did not destroy all the karmas that you've been planting for eons. Not for tonight. Okay, the last one. I know, but he keeps looking at me with like, and then I'm not looking over there anymore. And the last thing, higher animal, the last cessation you have, which is an interesting one, is you no longer believe that harmful practices can lead you to enlightenment. Stupid practices of harming your body, for example, or anything that could be out of accord with morality. Because then you know that can never lead you to enlightenment. I'm going to skip you for a sec. Yeah? So, before we go on a quick break, I briefly said there's 2 kinds of people, right? You can understanding the 2 truths and understanding the way people engage with these 2 truths, you can say that there are 2 people, 2 types of beings on the planet, and one of them are called Tattva, which was in Sanskrit Arya. Who on this planet used the word Arya before? A very naughty man, right? But Hitler used it. He stole it from Sanskrit. But what's it mean? What's it supposed to mean? Before Hitler screwed it up, right? What's Arya? Huh?
A person who's seen or
It is here, but I'm sure that's not what Hitler meant. Yeah.
Here?
Huh?
Is it pure?
Superior. It's a superior being.
Okay.
Yeah. So the translation, the Sanskrit for Arya is superior being. Why superior? Hitler totally screwed it up for us, right? But an Arya refers to someone who has had the direct perception of emptiness. If you get mixed up like I used to at the beginning, it's different from an Arhat. Yeah, an Arhat is. You got to speak louder.
Someone who's made it to Nirvana.
Someone who's made it to Nirvana. Made it. I'm here. Made it. Hi everybody. Okay, cool. Thank you. Tibetan Pakpa, Arya for Sanskrit means superior being, right? Division of beings on the planet. You're either this or you're not, right? Now we'll talk about the not later. A little bit about the early stages of Pakpa, or the early stages of an Arya, immediately after seeing emptiness directly. They are called what? Other than Pakpa.
Stream enterer.
Stream enterers. Why? Thank you for that. Why?
Because they're on a course.
So now you're on conveyor belt, okay? Now you no longer believe the lie. You are forced to act in accord. And you're not crazy. And you're certain. And you've got no doubt. And so you are now on a fast conveyor belt out of the cycles that have kept you here for eternity. You still got the momentum. You've got to clean it up. And it just might take a little while, like maybe 7 lives. But that is nothing compared to infinity. Infinity suffering, 7 lives. Clean up your act. By the way, side note, it can also happen in one lifetime, and that's the practice of the secret teachings. And it's all based on things are empty. Karma can be powerfully planted. Yeah, and then you can create the courses to experience that trajectory in one lifetime. Another story. So thank you for that. The Sosa Kewo Pratagyana, I think it is in Sanskrit, is also called a jipa. So a Sosa Kewo is just an ordinary being, someone inside that cycle, inside that wheel, unable to stop. It's just Sosa Kewo, forever going, like Sosa because it keeps going around and around. You might have in your quiz next week the question: is there any distinction between the experience of ultimate reality, seeing emptiness directly, someone who's done it for the first time, and a Buddha who's in that perception all the time, right? Is there any difference in the quality of the perception?
The quality of the perception?
Perceiving emptiness directly.
On that, let's take a 5-minute break, go toilet, drink something, and then we'll talk about it. Yeah? Or hang out, ask questions.
What was the third cessation?
The third cessation was no harming yourself, no harmful practice.
That sounded
No,
like
that
the
was
second
2.
though, wasn't it?
No, the
No,
two was.
the second one was,
No longer believing delusion.
yeah, no longer
Oh.
believing
Sorry, Steve.
Jikta. Sorry, I didn't
You
get
did
your
the same
question.
thing I
I wanted
did.
to ask you, like eating
No,
meat.
I know you said that.
Like eating meat.
Yep.
Is like if I ate it, in this lifetime, how would I be able to stop, to not make any negative karma for myself, to kind of stop the cycle of that?
Yeah.
Probably go.
Are you saying you would like to stop eating meat?